Burt Lancaster, the legendary masculine icon of classic Hollywood. But behind that glamorous facade, he carried a secret powerful enough to bring the entire film industry to its knees. A lifelong hero on screen, hailed as the ultimate model of the American man, yet Burt lived with a truth he never dared to speak out loud. He once loved men. Not just one, but at least 5 famous men passed through Burt Lancaster's life. One made him fall to his knees and beg. One betrayed him right before the Oscars. And one secretly recorded Burt's confession, using it as blackmail for nearly a decade. So who were those 5 men? And what did Burt Lancaster have to sacrifice to keep that secret buried until his death? Everything will be revealed in today's video. Born into a poor family in the harsh Harlem neighborhood in 1913, Burt Lancaster grew up surrounded by dust train noise and dreams crushed by life. But instead of surrendering, he left home to join the circus, where people had to live like soldiers trained like wild animals to survive. It was this extraordinary past that forged his muscular body, steely eyes, and irreplaceable temperament. And then fate called his name. His first leading role in The Killer's 1946 turned him into an overnight phenomenon. From the legendary kiss on the beach in From Here to Eternity to the Oscar for Elmer Gantry, Burt continuously reached the pinnacle of glory. Over 1.85, tall with a face as beautiful as a sculpture, Burt was the definition of the ideal man on the American silver screen. But that was just a role. Behind all the glory, Burt Lancaster was a man who carried within him a part of the truth that he never dared to openly admit. A secret that could ruin a career if exposed at that time. A secret that Hollywood has always known, but no one dares to tell. 1. Cary Grant, first love, ends in bitter betrayal. They were 2 of the most charming men in Hollywood at the time. One was known as the most beautiful face in America. The other was the embodiment of strength and principle. But few people knew that Burt Lancaster and Cary Grant had a secret love affair, passionate, furtive, and ended in a betrayal that left Burt devastated for life. According to a butler who worked at Grant's mansion in Santa Monica, Burt often stayed overnight there between 1948 and 1951. They swam together at night in the private pool behind the house, drank bourbon under the moonlight, and even tattooed the same small symbol on their ankles. A secret bond that no one had ever known about. But Hollywood was not a place for such love affairs. In 1951, when Cary Grant began to be rumored to be dating the young actress Betsy Drake, who would later become his wife, Burt felt like he had been stabbed in the back. According to a person on the set of Jim Thorpe, All-American Burt smashed the telephone in the dressing room when he heard that Grant had publicly announced his love for Betsy in the press. Worse still, it was Cary who refused to act with Burt in a major project afterwards, for fear that being too intimate on screen would arouse suspicion. The pain was not just jealousy, but a feeling of utter rejection, as if their relationship had never existed. A handwritten letter never sent, found in Burt's house after his death, contained a hauntingly short line. "You choose to live a lie to the world, and I choose to die with the truth." The love affair with Cary Grant ended not with a goodbye, but with a silence that killed Bert day by day. But his heart, though broken, had not yet learned to refuse love. And then another man appeared, more handsome, more famous, and more dangerous. A man whose photo alone was enough to bury them both in the grave of fame. 2. Rock Hudson. Friendship or love. And the fateful night in Rome. If Cary Grant was the first wound in life, then Rock Hudson was the relationship that sent Burt Lancaster into a dangerous spiral of love temptation and fear of destruction. Rock Hudson, 6'6", and flawlessly handsome, was the perfect definition of the American man of the 1950s. But behind that standard smile was a lonely soul who always had to hide himself. And Burt Lancaster, who had suffered the pain of being rejected by Cary Grant, seemed to see in Rock a reflection of himself. According to a story from a camera assistant on the set of The Leopard in 1963, where Burt and Rock were scheduled to film at the same time in Rome, the two famous men often disappeared from the main hotel and rented a separate penthouse on the outskirts of the city. There they lived like two strangers to the world. No cameras, no red carpets, no pretense. There were only private dinners, soft French music, and a bed that no third person had ever entered. One night, according to a never-before-published account from the chambermaid, Burt was found drunk crying on the floor with a torn-up letter beside him, and Rock had left without saying goodbye. A few days later, the Italian press reported that Hudson was holding hands with a local model, a publicity stunt to calm the rumors that were swirling around Europe. Burt never spoke of the incident in Rome again. But according to a close friend, that was the only time Burt lost his temper on set. He punched a mirror in the dressing room without saying a word. When asked, he simply said, "Don't love anyone who isn't brave enough to love you," in broad daylight. No one knew who Burt was talking about. But those who were near him that day knew it was Rock Hudson. If Burt Lancaster had passionate and emotional relationships, his relationship with J. Edgar Hoover was at the opposite extreme, cold and calculating. J. Edgar Hoover, the legendary FBI director and the most powerful man in America for nearly half a century. He could silence Hollywood, make the president wary, and hold secret files that could bring down anyone. No one expected Burt, a rebellious actor and free-spirited artist, to connect with Hoover, the symbol of discipline and control. But that was the beginning. Burt Lancaster met Hoover at a charity event in Washington, D.C., where the powerful and the showbiz often mingle. No one expected such a strange connection between a movie star and a security tycoon. Hoover was rumored to be gay all his life, but he never admitted it. Hoover was a man famous for keeping things under wraps. He was said to have had a decades-long intimate relationship with his close aide Clyde Tolson, but he never admitted that he was gay. For Burt, the connection with Hoover was not classic love, but an implicit sympathy between two men, one yearning for freedom, the other imprisoned by his power. They met several times over private dinners, on impromptu, off-the-record phone calls with meaningful glances between hundreds of people. No one knows exactly what they shared, but Burt once said he was the strongest man in America and the loneliest man I have ever met. The relationship with J. Edgar Hoover is a different chapter where emotion is stifled by power and self-denial.